Hey all, so advanced skeleton video that I recorded in class didn't record correctly, so I didn't upload it. So I wanted to record you a video really quickly showing you how to use advanced skeleton for setting up the characters for your projects. So if you've downloaded advanced skeleton, just search advanced skeleton, you'll find the website. You'll download it. All you have to do is drag and drop this install, and when you do, it will insert these icons up here, 5, and these, not this first one, but the second 4 icons here. And so to open it, you just hit that 5 button, and that opens it up. These are actually sort of like pickers for your character once you've made it. So really, basically, advanced skeleton takes any set of joints and generates sort of this predictive rig on it, right? And so I would just to kind of show you this, we can literally go to the top view, go to the skeleton, create some joints, right? Get this hierarchy, and I can hit build advanced skeleton, and it's going to build a mirrored version. It's going to sort of root it, and it's going to build this entire rig for it, right? It's kind of hard to tell what's going on with that rig because these are so big, but if I were to grab these a little further down here into this control curves, I can scale those down to say 0.3. And what you'll see that we have is sort of an IK or an FK chain and a placement control to move this wherever we want to, right? That's sort of the default, and then of course there's also a control here for the sort of the root of this as well. So this is sort of the default setup, and it's just an FK chain if we haven't distinguished anything else. One of the cool things about advanced skeleton is at any point I can actually toggle back to that original skeleton I built, and if I don't like the skeleton that was, or the rig that was generated, I can actually just hit delete advanced, and so now we're just back to that skeleton. It puts it under a control here, but we just get this as our skeleton that we would use, right? So there's some tags we can do to allow it to build certain features, right? So if I wanted to add this as an arm, right? It's just 2 arms. If I click this little question mark here, it will show you like how to tag the things you want to build. So if I want an arm, I just need to specify what's the shoulder, what's the hand, right? And advanced skeleton will do the rest in building sort of an IK system for this. So let's do that really quick. We'll tag this as the shoulder. Add. We'll tag this as the hand. Add. And so now if I were to build advanced skeleton, of course we get these things kind of big again. Let's go ahead and scale those down. But what we also get is we get one of these little plus signs for each of these, and you'll see that we get the option to be either an IK or FK. For an IK, it built this entire IK system for that chain, right? And so this is how advanced skeleton works. Is you can tag stuff, and then this means that you can rig anything with this. You could rig a human, or you could rig a quadruped, or you could rig something with 8 legs, or you could rig something that has no arms at all, right? You could rig a snake with this. So there's a lot of different sort of limb features that you can add to this. You can add tails to your character, or you could use this tail control to control stuff like hair, like a ponytail or something, right? So having said that, we just need any skeleton, and it comes with some pre-built skeletons in here. There's the biped, there's biped game, there's a bird skeleton, right? And all of this stuff is going to be pre-tagged for you. So if I went to File, New Scene, Don't Save, and let's say I did the dragon skeleton, right? And said Import. It's going to import it in. Everything is tagged correctly already. You'll see it's just half a skeleton because it's going to mirror that across. So I'll just hit build advanced skeleton. And what we're going to get is this very robust rig. Now if you get a yellow error down here, that means the advanced skeleton didn't finish running and you may not have a full skeleton. So this is a really complicated looking one, but you get all these IK chains to get this very specifically posable neck, right? And you get like these wings and all sorts of different things to control those. I'm not sure what that is. We get this, we curl these, right? So it's just a rigging system that will allow you to rig anything, or most anything. So we already have a character we can open up. I'll go ahead and say open scene. I'm going to go get, let's do the businessman. No, let's don't cancel. Let's do the bad guy. Don't save. So we got this guy. Now we could very well use the skeleton that exists in here already, right? You'll notice that it has two features. If I turn this X-ray joints, you'll see that for the most part, this is everything that starts with pelvis is just a full skeleton the way we need it, right? These are game joints that are necessary if we were going to do more stuff with games. So let's just go ahead and delete those. We don't need those. The only thing that's really missing with any of this is our pelvis is the top joint, and then root is a group. And really, if we wanted this to work with advanced skeleton, we would need pelvis to be named root. So I'd drag this out. I'd rename this root. And then we could rig this, but the problem with it is we can't rig it with advanced skeleton while it's still skinned. Right? So what we would have to do is say skin, unbind skin, and then we're just going to have to reskin this character later, which I'll show you some tricks to make that easier. So this is one way, but this isn't really ready to rig with advanced skeleton. Right? There's a couple of things that we're going to get here that's going to be problematic. Right, including stuff like this arm isn't laid out for FK yet, right, or for IK yet. So let's go ahead and hide this guy. What I could very well do is just go through and tag what I need to tag. Right, I would go hand first, tag this as the hand, add, tag this as the shoulder, add, and I could do the same thing here. I could do, if you look at the sort of the cheat sheet for this, we need hip, foot, and then we need toe and toe end, and then heel if we have it, but our rig doesn't have that. So, so I could go and do that hip, add, foot, add, the cool thing is when you click on this, it gives you some cheat sheets here. Toes, add, and then toe end is that end joint, just so it knows where to rotate from. Something I personally like is I like this to also have this option here. These are attributes, so do you want it to you know, aim at something, or like there's a whole bunch of different features you could add, twisty and bendy. The one I'm looking for is global, right? By default, joints will be automatically oriented to down exponent. Free orient means the joint will skip the orientation process so the joint to be freely oriented in any direction. So that may actually fix some stuff for us. But I definitely want this arm to be global, right? So I can go to this global tag, and I can add that, and you'll see it adds this global here. I do not know why. Oh, all this hierarchy already had animation on it. Let's get rid of that. 200 -10. Make sure we get rid of all these keys. Sorry about that. And then, so yeah, that added the global. I also want this global on the head. So I would add that there. Let's look at the orients on these here. So this is something I didn't see before. If I select this joint, yeah, I want to see the joint axis. How do I see that? Do I have to have the whole thing selected or something? Anyway, right now the axis is probably down the bone, and that's not necessarily what I want. So if I put this move, oh, no, that actually looks right. So I think what that means is if I want this to work a little bit better for the way it generates these controls, I can go in here and add a let's see if I want world orient. So free orient, world orient is going to orient to the world. I believe that's not going to be perfect, but I think that that's, I'll use either, yeah, I think that that will work. Let's go ahead and add this like world orient to the wrist and to the head, just because those two mess up later. So that may not work, but we can try it. So the trick to this is to save this file, right? Save scene as, always do this Greg work. We'll call this bad guy underscore rigging .0001. Save. And what that means is if this doesn't work, I can always reopen this file, right? But I can just say build advanced skeleton. Oh, so I had the wrong thing selected. Undo, select that, build advanced skeleton. So, and that's what happens when you choose build world orient. But the cool thing about it, no, it still does it wrong. Yeah, that's still wrong. The head's still wrong. Oh, the head worked. That's just not the way I want that to rotate. Maybe I need to do free orient instead. So at any point I can toggle fit skeleton. So there's going to be a couple of things we have to go through and do for this, right? To get that hand, delete the advanced skeleton. I'm going to remove that world orient from the hand. Let's try it with free orient. Add. That's telling me that that's where the problem is there. If I insert, can I just rotate that orient to be something more like that? W, E, yeah. Object, no, that's still not right. I think I have to go to skeleton. I need joint orientation. This may be under, see, I wish it would just show it to me in here with this. That's what that's supposed to do. I don't want to show it like that. Oh, that's handy, the pole vectors. Okay, so what that's going to tell you is where it's going to put the aim first off. So if you need to change that, you can hit insert, move that up, and you can aim your elbow a little bit better. Right? I do not know why it's not showing my, maybe it's just, maybe I have to have it that turned off or something. I know that there's a way we can turn on joint labels? No, it is not. It is where I can see the orientation of the joint. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Show. And here I go, continuing to spend more time on it. Okay, I'm not going to, let's just stop there on that. So that is one of the issues, is getting that orient working correctly. And I know we can do, we could get it rotated a little differently. But what it's doing is it's pointing it down the thumb instead of down the other joints, right? And so we can get that orient pointed in a different way. We can get the hand oriented correctly. Anyway, there's a lot of little things we can change in this, but this is going to allow us to keep going back and forth and eventually build the skeleton or build the rig we want, right? But again, this rig's going to come with some issues. So again, I got to fix the knee aim because the knee's sort of pointing off to the side, so I'll have to keep toggling back and forth. So I may not want to do that. Like, one of the things I could do is just say toggle fit skeleton, delete that, and I'm just going to delete this fit skeleton. I still have my character in here, right? And one of the options I could do is to bring in a rig that I know is going to work, like the biped or biped game would probably work really well. Let's see if biped is what I'm using in my other character, so let's just import that in. And you're going to see we get this down here, and all of the labels are already there. It's just really small. So I'm going to grab this like fit skeleton control and scale it up. And this will take just a little bit of time to do, but if we go to shading, X-ray joints, what I can do is go through here and one at a time position my joints where I want them to be, right? To give you some indication of what these are, this is the jaw, right? So we can position that and get that in the place we want it. So usually I put the jaw where I want it to rotate. So I'll rotate it from there. He doesn't really have a mouth, so it doesn't really matter too much. This is more than anything I'm going to use to deform the face. This I was actually using sort of as this catch-all eyebrow eye control. Keep in mind that it's not very hard if you wanted to just hit Control D, and suddenly you get a second set, and you can do one for the eyebrow and one for the eye if you'd like. And this is just going to be a very like simple FK rig that we're building here. Now, to position these joints, you have to be careful, because I did all that work on the eye, and if I just grab this and raise it up, all that eye stuff messes up, right? So you got to remember, like one of the things that most people do is they select the root and sort of put it where they need it first. But if you forget to do all that, all you have to do is hit the insert key, and you can move joints with the insert key without affecting the rest of the hierarchy. Right? So I'll put mine maybe like there. I want to make sure I'm looking at this from all angles. Move that back a little bit. Move that. We have this toe control here. This is going to allow us to say this is where the toe bends, but all of these other joints are points for it to pivot from. Right? So if I wanted to put it like this angle, I can put an end joint here to pivot from, and here, and then even here. And so those are all these pivot points for the joint now. You want to, you can also do this wireframe on shaded so you can see where the divisions are. So you'll want this knee to bend at a place where you have the topology for that deformation to happen, right? So maybe like there, or even a little lower, like there, right? And so that way that deformation can happen. In all honesty, it wouldn't hurt to add some extra edge loops in here if you're starting to get some weird deformations going on. Also, this is really handy to see this pole vector. Why is that not working? Pole vector. Object add. Oh, really? Okay, fine. Apparently I have to change the name of that to IND1, just so it doesn't get confused. Pole vector. now I can kind of see like that's the direction that the knee is going to bend. That's the direction the elbow is going to bend. All that seems more correct to me. Okay. So this is what I was looking for earlier, and I don't know why I wasn't showing it. Okay, cool. So we got all those things. I can go through here now one at a time and just get this positioned where I need it. Something you're going to run into is that this character has more fingers than you need, right? And so once you get it all positioned, you want to be careful. Like the reason I was looking at that pole vector is if I do this, you'll see that my pole vector now is in the wrong angle, right? I want to make sure that I'm getting the bend happening in the right direction, and that's usually a combination of where your elbow, your shoulder, and your wrist are. And so it's really hard to get it exactly right without messing some stuff up, but you just kind of got to finagle it. To me, like I really wish they give you a manual way of editing that. So let's try that. I can rotate that up and then rotate that back down just a little bit. There we go. So when you get out here to these fingers, what I usually do is delete the ones I don't need, and then I can position these how I need them. So it's going to take you a little while to position all those fingers, but let's say I did it, right? I think my spine is probably a little off too. I would usually want my clavicle to be more like here, my ribs to be more like here. So keep in mind these are the positions where you're going to be rotating your character from, right? And so that's kind of what I'm putting in place here. And then maybe my root, I would even want it to be a touch lower. Right. So let's say I got all that. I'm going to go ahead and file, save scene as. I'm going to save over that. This one, just add a 2 to it. Right. So you're eventually going to get it working. You're going to say build advanced skeleton. It's going to generate your skeleton for you, right? There's still a lot of little things that we need to resize and stuff like that. But if you look in here into this group, under main, this deformation system right here, that is what we're going to skin to. So I'm going to select that skeleton, select this mesh, and I can hit skin, bind skin. For these characters, I think we're getting the best results out of geodesic voxel. So bind skin. And we're going to get a skin that works okay, right? It's going to have some issues. The places you are likely to have some issues is collapsing under the armpit there. And the way you would fix that, paint your skin weights, right? And I would go to my spine, maybe the highest, maybe even chest, spine or chest, and then I would go to add, and you can just sort of put this like, sorry, it was so loud. So put that at 0.2, and I would just start adding a little bit under the arm, right? You could also just set it to replace and set that all the way up to 1 if you know that you're wanting it to go all the way up, right? And so that's kind of what I would do to keep that from collapsing with the arm when he puts his arm down. And so you'll get a little bit of a better result here. So you see some spots I still need to do it too, right? The other thing is if you know you don't want something affecting like that vertex, I can select that vertex and go to Windows, General Editor, Component Editor. And under this smooth skin option here, I can remove anything I don't want to affect that. Like I know I don't want the shoulder to be affecting that, so I can just type in 0 there. And so now hopefully, if we go back and So that one's okay, right? And I can get rid of it on, I can grab these vertices here and say I don't want the shoulder affecting any of those, and I can zero those out. So that's a quick way of getting rid of that influence on certain vertices. So yeah, it's working a little bit better. The other areas you're going to get some issues is there's going to be some collapsing in the upper arm here. What you would need to do for that, paint your skin weights. You're going to find your shoulder, and so this is a 3-part shoulder. I'm on the left shoulder right now. Let's go to the right. There's these 3 joints for it. You're going to really want to make sure that all of those have all of the weights. So again, like you could do this very similarly to what we just did. I could go to the vertices, or you could either add them, or you could go to these vertices like this and say, you know, I don't want any elbow influence on those, right? 0. And then now we only get this collapsing happening here. There's another trick. This is a little harder to do, but it works pretty well. If I select my mesh and I right-click, paint skin weights, right? I have the paint option, but I also have this select option. And if I hit select, it should take me to vertex mode of my object. And then I can select these vertices around there, and then I can select the joint I want to affect it, which in this case would be my right shoulder part 2, right there, right? And I can start adding the value to that. Right now, on average, the value is 0.34, but if I start sliding that up, we'll see I can add a little bit to that, and then if I'm like, no, I do want the elbow affected a little bit, I can sort of, you know, mix and match, right, what I'm getting there. So it's not going to be perfect. It's really not. In fact, like looking at this, I kind of wish I'd have put the elbow joint just a touch higher. But this is going to work. So the other thing we can do, and this is a complete, and I can always go back to paint here, W, to object mode. So the other thing we can do is there's a tool called the Delta Mesh tool. So let me show you what it does. If I'm sorry, Delta Mush, not Delta Mesh. If I do this, right, we're getting a little bit of collapsing behind the legs. We'd probably want to paint that out first. But what I can do is the Deform Delta Mush, and I gotta select my mesh first. Deform Delta Mush. And you'll see it kind of smooths a lot of stuff out, right? Like the way the hips are doing some stuff there. You'll see the difference in what it's like without it and with it. And so it fixes a lot of stuff. It also causes some issues in a lot of stuff. But really that elbow maybe got a little bit better too. And even those knees got a little bit better, although I do think you still need to do a little skin weighting there. What you're going to get, I didn't realize that it would do this, it 2 sets of eyes. Now I got the eyes, and then I got the eyebrow controls. But there are also some manual controls in there I can use. So you could use this to get like some expression out of here, or you can use the control that's kind of hiding back here, it's right here, to get some more eyebrow control. And then of course the jaw that's hiding under here, you would use that to really is only going to let you sort of like change the character's expression a little bit like this, right? What I would say is I know those controls are not very useful right now, right? Let's add my mesh to a new layer here, template it. What I can do is right click on this and hit control vertices and select these control vertices. Select all of them. And then I can just move all of those vertices outside of the mesh like this. And now I have something that's a little easier to grab on my character to animate that, right? So yeah, there's a lot of little things we're going to want to change through here, but this Delta Mush will help. It'll also hurt in some areas, right? Like it's really probably going to mess up my fingers just a little bit, like what it's doing to them, right? And if I turn off that delta mush, you'll see it was probably better without them, right? Which means I don't always want that to affect everything, right? But I definitely want it to affect the parts it's making better. So one of the things you can do is delta mush is a deformer, and like all deformers, they have the option to have skin weights, right? So paint weights on the delta mush. And so right now it's all set to 1, right? But if I go to my tools menu here, right, I have the option to set that value to 0 and start painting out the things I don't want to be affected by the delta mush, right? And so that'll fix a few things too, to be able to control that, right? So maybe I don't want to set that to 0. Maybe I want to set it to like 0.5 and just want the delta mush to partially affect the legs, right? So that's not a bad result. So this is how much is the delta mush deformer affecting different parts of your mesh, right? And so for me, there's big sections that I don't want it affecting it at all. So something like that. And then when we of course my hand rig on this guy was way bad. So there's probably some other things I need to fix on that as well. Yeah, I didn't put the joints anywhere near the correct spots. So this is how I'm using to set up my rigs. Of course, there's the manual way of moving the curves by the vertices, but there's also that option within here to go into it's in the body, it's under down here, control curves, right? And then we can select specific curves, and this is where I can scale them up to like 1.2 of their original scale. And if that doesn't work, I'll just hit it a few more times, right? And this will allow us to resize our controls and put them where we need them to be. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and it'll let you get a rig put together that you're able to use. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.